Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are starting investigation 4 with 4.1. Today we are starting systems of linear equalities. Now, we talked about systems before when we had equations. So like when we had x plus 2y equals 4, or x plus negative 2y equals 6 or something like that. If we had that 4 up there, I can't seem to write it. There we go. So that is a system. Today we're talking about systems of linear inequalities. So inequalities, again, remember, have less than or greater than signs. So the problem today, we're limiting driving miles. So think about if your parents drive cars or any buses that you might ride. All of these vehicles drive and they also pollute the air. It says automobiles are a major source of air pollution. When Jared studied the effects of his pollution on global climate change, he decided to take a look at his family's driving habits. Okay, so look, we're looking at driving habits. His family has 2 vehicles. Now, it's going to be important. A car and an SUV. His parents estimate that the family drives about 1,200 miles each month. They decide to try to limit their driving to no more than 1,000 miles each month. So they're trying to cut down. They're trying to drive less so they can produce less pollution. So we are going to use this today. We're going to try to figure out things with the car and the SUV, how many miles we can drive so that they don't go over 1,000. Alright, so the first thing on your page, it says find 10 possible pairs. Now it says car miles and SUV miles that give a total of no more than 1,000 miles. Okay, so what this tells me is that we are driving the car and we're driving the SUV. So we're driving both things and we want to get no more than 1,000 miles. So it tells me pairs. When I see pairs, I know that I'm going to write pairs in an ordered pair. Now for this case, I'm probably going to write C for cars and S for SUV. So we're looking for car miles and SUV miles that equal no more than 1,000. Well, basically what we're doing is just trying to find 2 numbers that add up to 1,000. So if I drive 500 for my car miles, well, if I do then 1,000 minus 500, that means I have to drive 500 SUV miles. That would give me 1,000 miles. Now, also, I could say 250 car miles, and if I said 500 SUV miles, well, if I add up 250 plus 500, what I'm going to get then is 750. Now that's not 1,000, but remember what the question is asking you. It says gives a total of no more than 1,000 miles. So you could do anything below 1,000. You could even do 1,000 car miles and 0 SUV miles. You're still driving 1,000 miles, just this time you're just driving the car, not the SUV. So now I've given you 3 possible pairs. I want you to come up with the next 7. So pause the video and come up with those next 7, because now after you come up with your 7, you are going to graph these on this graph. So I'm going to graph the 3 that I put. So the first one I saw was 500, 500. So I'm going to go to 500 car miles and 500 SUV miles, and I'm going to put a point right there. The next one I had was 250, 500. So 250 and 500 would be right there. Then 1,000 and 0, so 1,000 car miles, but 0 SUV miles. Oh, that's 900, sorry. 1,000 car miles, but 0 SUV miles would be right there. So I want you guys to graph all 10 pairs that you found on your graph here. Now, once you graph those, look down at number 3. It says, are there other possible pairs that give a total of no more than 1,000 miles? So figure out if you can do anything else that is going to equal no more than 1,000 or less than 1,000 miles. Is there any more than the 10 that you just found? Number 5 says, in what region are the points that meet the goal of less than 1,000 miles per month? How does this region compare to the region in part 4? So this time, we are just trying to find the region of less than. Oh, we forgot one question down here. So the question says, a region is a part of the graph or plane. Describe the region where points representing totals of no more than 1,000 are located. So what that tells me is I'm looking for some place where no more than 1,000 are located. So for question 4, I know that I could drive 1,000 car miles and 0 SUV miles, or I could drive 1,000 SUV miles and 0 car miles. Those are the two highest ones that I can draw. So now I'm going to create a line between those two. Now the region that this can be is anywhere underneath my line. If I go up any more, then that becomes more than 1,000 miles. So question 5 says, in what region are the points that meet the goal of less than 1,000 miles? So is this region the same? Is this region different? That is up for you to figure out. The next one says, suppose Jared's family wants to limit their driving to no more than 800 miles per month. So this time we're getting rid of the 1,000, but we're going to 800. So what they want you to do is they want you to draw this on this graph. So no more than 800. Draw a graph of pairs that meets this condition. Well, what I know is that I could have 0 car miles and 800 SUV. I know I could have 800 car miles and 0 SUV. So those points would be here. Oh, not there. Those points would be here and here. Then they want to know if there's anything else. So, well, I know I could do 400, 400. Those would both add up to equal 800. So 400, 400 is right there. See if you guys can come up with any more points. The next question asks, describe the region of the graph that includes all the points that represent driving no more than 800. Now that's important, the word no more. See if you guys can come up with that region based on your graph. Remember your graph looked like that? Can you describe the region where all the miles would be no more than 800? Last one, let C represent the number of miles driven using the car. Let S represent the number of miles driven using the SUV. Write inequalities to model the following solutions. Well, I'm going to do the first one for you here. It says a total of no more than 1,000 miles. So I know that C is the car. I am also driving the SUV. So it would be C plus S. So car plus SUV. Then I know that I'm trying to drive no more than 1,000 miles. So we need to figure out a symbol that's going to go here. It says no more than 1,000 miles. So I'm saying that 1,000 is going to be the greatest one. So it would be C plus S needs to be less than or equal to 1,000. So the car plus the SUV miles are going to be less than or equal to 1,000 because we're driving no more than 1,000 miles. So now I want you guys to answer 2 and 3. Once you are done with that, you will be done with the packet. So work on your IXL after that if you get there. Don't worry if you don't get done today. That's fine. We'll